It's on.
Alright, so I'm going to do the water change on the Mbuna tank. The tools that I use on this tank just get used on this tank. So mostly it's the stuff sitting here at the end of the case or the stand. The towels and the hoses are on the furnace room door, and the last thing you might need or will need is the python, which is often on the floor just over here like it is right now, or other times it's under the rainbow fish tank, except that the acaras are in that tank right now. So we'll pause the video, we'll get some of the hoses and tools set up, and then we'll start the recording again. The step stool is definitely something that's necessary when the tank's this tall. It's right behind the door in the furnace room. The other thing that I didn't show directly, this is part of the gravel vac, and we'll hook that up in a minute. And this part of it typically lives in the breeder box that's sitting here. So we've got a little bag for the gravel vac. So it just has an elastic and it fits over this ring on the gravel vac like that, and then oops, and then it slides in to there, and turning clockwise when it's all the way in will get it snug in there. There is a white plastic screen that goes in to that part to catch any large pieces like leftover pea shells. And then lastly, the hard, I don't know, pipe or whatever fits on here. So I'm going to put that up there for a minute. Hopefully that we'll see where this goes best for the moment. And the other part of the gravel vac is the hose that goes on the bottom of this cup right there. For the moment, we're just gonna, it has a lot like the Fisker garden hoses, that kind of fitting, where it clips on and you pull down and it pops off. We'll worry about this end of it in a minute or two. So I'm not going to worry about doing anything with the lids. I cleaned all 4 pieces of the lid last weekend. Just stick this in. I only really worry about getting the bucket half full, because all I use this water for is rinsing out the 2 sponge filters. So it's, you know, basically enough water for that. So we'll pause the video there and pick it up when we grab it back. There's the bucket of water I pulled out. Like I said, half a bucket or so, doesn't matter. We'll come back to that part of things in a minute or two. Going to turn some stuff off under here and show you which things we turn off when we're doing the water changes, and we'll finish setting up the gravel vac and getting that ready to go. So under here we've got water conditioner. This is just where I sit the jug of water conditioner that I've got open. This door here, there's some spare jugs of water conditioner, and that should be true in July too. I've got filter floss that I store here, and a couple small nets here, and I think there are 4 nets 4 different size nets around. Oh, here's the one I wasn't finding. So, tiny beta fish net, small net I got with a 10-gallon tank from someone or other. The black one's got the telescoping handle, and then this one's got the physically the largest netting of the group of them. I have for cleaning the hoses or different things, I have a long wire brush. For medication and things like that, I've got a set of measuring spoons just for the aquariums that lives down here. And then over here on the side of the stand, well, yeah, show me because I'm just describing where. I've got a set of measuring cups that are just for the aquariums. The only one of these I use is the 1 cup measure. When I change the water in here, I add 1 cup of water conditioner. So this is the only one that I make regular use of. Alright, the last thing down here is the big hose to pump out the water from the tank into the laundry tub. And I'm just pulling that out so it's out of the way right now. Alright, over here. So if let me grab this. Can you grab the charger there? Cool. Alright, let's see what this looks like. Alright, so we've got, if I stick, you can see the one fx6 there, pretty dark, but you can see it. This power bar powers that fx6. It powers the air pump, and it pumps and it powers the heater on the left side of the tank, which I won't worry about showing right now. So none of these things are necessary for our water change, and we turn off the whole power bar there. I'm going to hand this back to Nate. You can see the second yellow power bar right there, just above the fx6. We do need power on that power bar because we use this fx6 to pump water to the laundry tub. So we don't turn off the power bar. The only thing we're going to do immediately is unplug the heater. So Nate, can you see the hoses, the 2 black lines here at the back?
Yep. Okay.
One of those is an air hose and the other's a power cord, and I expect distinguishing the two is pretty easy. So the power cord here is the heater on the right, and so we want to unplug that so that it's not going to overheat while you're draining water out of it and exposing the heater. So we unplug that heater, and I usually try to bring that power cord out here and lie it out in front so it's as obvious as can be, so I can remember to plug it back in. And that's all we need to unplug from over here, because that power bar has the timer, the controller for the tank light. It also has the exterior lamp plugged in, and this canister filter, and I think that's it. So, our thing came unstuck. All right, so this is the hose coming out of the bottom of the gravel filter, the gravel vacuum, and we're going to connect it here. Yep, okay, cool. And we're going to connect it here to the utility connection on the canister filter. So turning clockwise, that red piece is going back towards the canister. That allows this white cover to come off. Then we put this hose on here. You want to shove it on pretty good, and then turning it counterclockwise, hold the hose, and that red piece comes this way and tightens over the end of the hose. Alright, can you show this well?
Yep.
Okay, so on on the fx6s, on the top connections and the utility connection, no, let me correct myself. On the top connections, if the valve is vertical, it means it's open. Can you show the utility connection down here? On the utility connection, vertical means it's closed. Alright, so can we go back up here? The other thing to point out or pay attention to is on the top of the lid of the canister, it says which connection is the input. For us, the input's back here, and the output is closer to us. So I know that, and that might be a little tricky if you're just doing it, the water change once or twice. So the inputs to the canisters at the back, the output is close to us. So for the gravel vac, what we want is we want to close the input and open this, and that'll make the gravel vac the input, the water input for the canister. You stay pointing there, and I'm going to stand up for a second and put this end of the gravel vac into the tank, where, good. Alright, so like I said, vertical is open. I want to close the valve at the back. So now no water is going in at the back, and I'm going to turn this 90 degrees, and now, can you show here? And now the canister is sucking water in through here. It's going through the sock here and getting sucked into the canister filter. So, stand up please, Nate, thank you.
Oopsies.
So, now I'm going to work on gravel vacuuming the tank. The one thing that I'll add is, as you can probably see, my stack of clay pots and such fell yesterday, so it's pretty spread out compared to normal, and that's going to make gravel vacuuming more difficult. But that's not a huge deal. Can you get in close here? So
right, we're there.
There's this red dial, so to speak. It says, or it describes it as being able to move it with your thumb, but it's kind of squeeze it between your thumb and your pointer finger, and that controls how much water gets sucked in, so how much draw is going on. And the reason that's important to control is sucking up a bit of sand in the solid pipe is fine, but we don't want to suck a whole lot of it through the hose and everything. So you want to find a good spot where you get a bunch of dirt, but you don't necessarily, but hopefully we can avoid getting a lot of sand into so if you can, are you showing down here, Nate?
I am.
So you can probably see some sand getting sucked into the bottom of our hose, but not really making it up too high. And if it's coming out in the video, you can probably see the cloudy fish waste coming up the pipe as well. I did a pretty good job of vacuuming this last weekend. I took out all the clay pots last weekend, but that's something I only do like every other month. Alright, now I'm gonna, so
This is the scary part.
oh, you don't need to hold it up high. That's not necessary. So Nate, can you come around here? I'm gonna work on gravel vacuuming the back corner of the tank there, because this is one of the spots where a lot of fish waste seems to gather in the tank. And you can see the sand falling back out. Alright, so Nate, if I can have you back up, I'm going to pull the gravel back out in a moment. Alright, so the main thing with taking the gravel back out is a couple things. This connection here, where the hard plastic pipe connects to this piece, seems to be where if it's going to come apart and spill water everywhere, that's the spot. So it's something to be mindful of. And so the other part is I try not to suck tons of air into the canister. It's not really a huge deal. So what I do, kind of as organized as I can be, is pull this out and then flip the utility port down here closed. So Nate, as I bring this out, I'm gonna kneel down and I want you to come in close to where I am down there. Cool. The other thing to be, oh, I just sucked a bunch of air in. Oops. Anyway, the other thing to be mindful of is wanting to try and get as much or all of the water out of these hoses as possible. And it's not super crucial, but obviously it just makes less mess. So we pull this out. I'm just trying to get the water to drain out of here into, come on. There we go. Into there. Could hear it sucking air. We close that, and now that back connection on the top of the canister, we rotate 90 degrees from like that to vertical, so it's open, and in a second you'll see tons of bubbles, and that just means it's working on purging. Well, it's purging itself is different actually, but I hope that bubbles don't make the rest of the video noisy, but we'll see how that goes. So, Nate, can you come back in here? I'm sorry if this part's noisy. We'll do this quickly. So clockwise to slide the red piece that way, pull this off, put the white cap back on, counterclockwise to bring the red thing out, and that's all done. So now, just grab a bucket, put it under here and pull that off, drain the water into the bucket. Rotate the black part counterclockwise. Pour out the water. Gently pull the elastic filter sock off. Up here. Pull this out. Pull the white screen out. If it's got anything significant in it, rinse it under the faucet in the laundry room. Tiny bit of water in one of them. Drain that out, and then these two hoses I'm going to go put on top of the freezer for right now in the laundry room. The small python that I used to fill the bucket's already sitting there, and we'll pick this up again in a minute. So this is a hose we showed you briefly before for helping to drain the tank. One end has the connector for the top of the canister, so we're going to leave that here, and then we just work at unrolling the hose towards the laundry room. Can you follow?
Yeah, I'm trying to get as far as I can.
Oops. All right.
This is as far I can get, which is kind of perfect. It'll zoom in a bit.
I'm gonna walk past you. You stay here. Hang on. Okay. So you should be able to get just a tiny bit closer. Let me walk past you.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
So the main thing, obviously, we don't want water all over the place. So I've got a clamp here, right? Two handles, the black plastic handle and this black metal handle. The black metal one's the quick release. You squeeze it and the rest of it slides. So on the side of the laundry tub like that, there we go. So this rubber pad should hook under the lip of the tub, and then you just use the yellow and black handles, squeeze against each other, and get it pretty tight. Not, it still has some movement, but... So, then we'll go back out here. Alright. So here's the really exciting part, other Heather. So, if you're doing anything to the canister, 3 things you want to do. Close these top 2 valves and unplug the power cable. And you definitely want to close the valves first. So, we'll close the input, we'll close the output, and we'll unplug it. You've got to close both, because if you only close the output and then you pull this off and the input's still open, you'll have gravity pushing water through the canister and you'll get a little geyser. If you close both of these and then take it off while the motor's still plugged in, the motor's going to still keep trying to deliver water out of the canister, and you'll end up with water on the floor. And I've done both of those. So close 1, close 2, and pull the power. And just as, I guess, reminder, right? Vertical means it's open, and horizontal means it's closed. So, to take this off, you press this red button here that's right in front of you. I don't know if you can see the movement on the video or not, but it squeezes in 1/4 of an inch at most, and then you need to lift vertically. The other thing to note is always have a towel here. Wrap the towel around the thing, and I've got it sort of in my my 2 smallest fingers here and 2 or 3 fingers here, and basically I use my thumb to push in. I lift with my pointer fingers, and I'm sort of pushing down with the rest of my hand against the canister, and a little bit of wiggling, and we're off. Most of the time you will end up, this actually came off really, really well. Most of the time you will end up with a bit of water in this part between like here, the bottom of the valve in there and here, and you'll end up with a bit of water. So with that closed, you know, that just hangs free. And so the next thing we're gonna do is check this. It's vertical. It's not actually a big deal because nothing's on and it's closed, but good habit, close this. And we're gonna, just like the other one coming off, it goes straight down. You want to listen for a click. So I don't know if the click came across in the video, but it's usually pretty obvious. One thing I will mention before moving on is, for whatever reason, this valve does leak. In the 7-8 minutes that it takes to drain half the water in the tank, you'll end up with something maybe a little less than 1/4 cup or whatever spilling out. So keep a towel here so that it runs over and it just lands on the towel, and that helps keep the bottom part of the tank clean or dry. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open the valves here, and then we're going to plug in the canister. And really important, when you do that, you want to double check in the laundry tub where the other end of the hose is to make sure the clamp stayed in place and that the water's going into the laundry tub, because the hose is 1 inch diameter on the inside. It'll dump, don't need to show the hose. It'll dump a lot of water on the floor really, really fast. So we open 1, we open 2, the water's running because of course it's gravity fed, and then we plug in and the water's running fine, so we come back out here. All right, show the canister again. So a couple things. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but you can see the dribble of water coming out every 5-10 seconds. That's going to happen for the duration of draining the water out. The other thing to note with both canisters, whenever you unplug them and then plug them back in, they are going to run for about a minute, and then they're going to stop for about a minute or 2. That is a normal thing. They are purging air. After that minute or 2 of getting rid of the air, so there we go. It just shut off, and it is working on purging air bubbles. That is a programmed thing. After that minute or so is done, it will automatically keep going. So if I can get you to stand up, Nate, I'm going to stand up too. Show the tank, and so the tank, as I recall, is like 31 inches or something. Yeah. When I'm doing water changes, the way I tell when I'm done is I do use a tape measure. Nate, can you show the tool bags over there? There's 1 or 2 tape measures over there. This black and yellow one, and there's also a red and black one. Anyway, show the tank again for me. And so basically, I'm looking for, from the top of the sand, I'm looking for the water to get to 12 or 13 inches from the bottom of the sand. So somewhere around here. I don't have any marker on it, I just use the tape measure every time. I think we'll pause the video while the water drains, and we will pick it up in. So we're basically at a point where from the sand to the water is 12 or 13 inches deep now. So that's basically what I aim for. I don't know how visible it is, but you can see there's a pretty good size wet mark from here. So at this point we're closing that, and we're closing that, and we're gonna unplug this again because we've drained out half of the water that we were looking for. There'll also be water up at the top here beside the valve. Just, you know, use the towel to soak that up quick. And just like with the valve that's on the hose for the tank, we bring the towel up around the valve and we squeeze that red button in a little bit, and we lift up vertically. Alright, so you want to lift this up higher than the height of the laundry tub, which you can see in the other room, and then you can open this and the water will start draining. So what we want to do is let that water drain and make, you know, I don't know, 18 inches, 20 inches, whatever diameter loop, and sort of just roll this up as we walk slowly towards the laundry tub. So hang on. Drain out whatever. Bring the clamp with you. So set that hose out of the way for right now, and later on it'll go back under here when we're cleaning up. So one more thing I'm going to do on camera before we start filling the tank is, sorry, those noises were about the fact that when the clay pots all moved or shifted, it landed on the sponge filter a little bit. So I take the black part of this and I kind of tuck it under the lid, and at least some of the time that holds it in place. Stick that there. And I don't work at cleaning these sponge filters super hard. They don't, I do squeeze them out every week, They don't accumulate very much in a week, and obviously most of the mechanical filtration's happening in the canisters anyway. But these were seeded sponge filters, or that had good bacteria when I started my tank. So I have continued to keep them in the aquarium, and the aeration, or the air bubbles, is good for surface disruption and gas exchange. So all right. I think we're gonna pause the video again. I'm gonna try to straighten up the stack of clay pots. I'm not gonna worry about recording that, and then we'll turn the video back on when we get organized with the Python to start filling the tank back up. So we're gonna set up the Python. We cleaned the sponge filters. I've got a new design for the stack of the clay pots. We'll see how that goes. And we're gonna get ready to start pumping water in here. So just like the small Python, this is the end obviously that goes in here. We'll drop that here, and then we're just gonna let out hose as we head toward the laundry room.
One sec.
So,
There we go. Alright, we're in.
so this is the part that connects the hose to the tap. This part goes on the tap, and this part is what our black connector threads onto. I find it easiest if I put the green piece on the end of the hose and then put this on here. Anyway, so to get it tight, it goes counterclockwise. Sometimes I find it easier if I go clockwise a little bit, and it seems to sit on the thread a little bit easier. So the tank is 80 Fahrenheit, so I don't personally measure the water temperature. I just figure on what feels close, but there is a thermometer that I can leave out for you, so you can check the temperature, and then I just use a water bucket, put some water in, measure the water temperature, and when it's close, sort of send it. So, left is hot, right is cold. Right now, the Python is just going to let the water from the hose come out the bottom of the green thing. To send it through the hose, you lift this bottom piece and go counterclockwise, maybe 30 degrees or so. It'll be pretty obvious. So I'm going to turn on the water, make it a little bit louder, and oh wait, no I'm not. So we definitely want this end up here before we get started. So I just aim it sort of towards the back wall. This clips on here very easily. There. So I clip this side onto the edge of the rim of the tank itself, not below it. That allows this not to get pinched, and I just aim this. It's slightly under the lid here so that all the water ends up going towards the back wall of the tank. I'm going to go turn on the water, and we'll come back out here. You might as well leave this running because I'll be back out here in 15 seconds. So I'm not super specific with the water temperature. I turn on the hot a bit. I let it run till it's hot, and then I basically open the cold like all the way, so that there's kind of like the maximum amount of flow coming out of the Python back into the tank as I can. So, as I mentioned, water conditioner, give it a shake, and I want a cup. So obviously I'm going to do this over the tank so I don't spill everywhere. I try to pour the water conditioner into the stream of the water so it disperses well. I don't think that's crucial, and I definitely rinse off the measuring cup in the water that's coming out. While using that other hose and the canister to drain half the tank is 6, 7, 8 minutes. Filling is probably more, a little longer than maybe 15 minutes, but it's a good time to clean up some things. It's a bad time to walk away and not think about it, because if it overflows, there's a lot of water coming out of that pretty fast, and it'll make a huge mess really, really quickly. The best or first thing or whatever that I do when this is filling up is I come back down here.
I have it down there.
Okay. I come back down here and I put the output hose back on the canister. Again, you want to listen for that click. The other thing to be mindful of with the canister is, can you get closer and angle the camera so you can see the hoses under here? You don't want like sags in the hose. You want it like as close to horizontal and then going upward as you can. Otherwise you lose flow. And I only mention that because if you shift the canister a little bit while you're working on it, checking that the hoses are nice and straight and then going up the side of the tank after you're done is a good thing to check. And you can also at this point, even though it's not plugged in, and again, well, I mean, you could plug it in now because the intake's always underwater, but it is good to open this up now, because if you aim up there, oh, we were already full. Anyway, if you're missing any water in here, you can, it'll fill up from the hoses and such, and you won't fill your tank and then open this up and suck some water in and then have your tank volume down a little bit. So the other thing I didn't mention that's down here, it's a tiny deal at best, is I've got a tiny little fan running, and that's just to help with any moisture, any water, to keep air moving so that, mold or whatever doesn't grow. And there's a dehumidifier around the corner too. So at this point, I think we'll pause the video. I'm going to hang up some towels, and we'll be back in a few minutes when this is full or almost full. All right, so can I grab this from you for a moment? Watch your feet in the cord. Oh, we're just spinning to get a kink out of the cord. So hopefully you can hear me well enough. Once the heaters are basically all underwater, we're pretty much at a point where we can turn things back on. So I'm going to hand this back to Nate. And so Nate, first aim at the power bar over here.
Done.
Okay, can you see the yellow power bar?
Yeah, I see yellow.
Okay, so we're going to turn on this side, and if you look, you should see a few bubbles come out of that, the output of the canister at the back here. You should see bubbles coming out of both sponge filters, and if we stand up, you should see a red light on the heater on the left side of the tank. You can see, there we go. All right, you got the iPad all right?
Yep.
Okay, so back up a little bit. All right, and so then we're gonna also plug in stuff on this side. So we need to, the power bar still has power on this side. We have to plug in the canister. Typically, I put the canister at the top here, and you'll see the bubbles come out. And then there's the heater for the right side of the tank. Find an open outlet and plug it in. There will probably be two plugs down here that are unplugged. This is a heater for a 10-gallon tank that's not sitting there anymore, and this is for the light for that same 10-gallon tank. So they're just going to sit here out of the way, and you can just ignore them. So you want to make sure you don't see any water leaking around here. You want to make sure you see air coming out of both sponge filters. You want to make sure you see red lights or red and green lights on both heaters. And and the reminder again is that when you turn on power for those canisters, I was fine anyway. When you turn on power for those canisters, they will stay on for a minute, they will shut off for a minute, and then they will turn back on and stay on. And that is normal behavior for the canister. Just let them go through that cycle. And I think we will stop there and come back when we're almost done filling the tank. One thing I want to show you quickly is from under the laundry tub to the floor drain, you will almost always have water on the floor. The plumbing for the laundry tub is not spectacular. That's pretty normal, and it runs to the laundry tub, so I don't worry about it very much. All right, so we've got a little bit of time while this is filling up still. So I'm gonna put a few things away. Starting with the hose, or the big hose goes down here. The wire brush cleaner, which normally you don't have, you wouldn't pull the twist tie off of, so that'd be straightforward. The measuring spoons, the tape measure that we used for the water depth can go away over in the tool bags. Oh, don't worry about that. The filter floss. All right, so bring the camera around here. You can see we've hung up the towels on the door, and there's 3 more hooks. So we're going to put the hoses on here. This one's pretty easy. Goes on the first one. This one's kind of the nuisance one, since this part is small. It doesn't grab near as well as the others. And then the python goes last.
Python?
That's the hose with that end on one end, and this is the python, Nate.
Oh.
So
I thought it was a siphon. You called it.
That's how I usually hang them up, and I only share that because it's the most consistent in having them stay hanging. All right, you can. So we're nearly full, and what I want you to see is basically I put my finger under the brace across the middle of the tank, and when the bottom of my finger is wet, that's when, you know, I stop filling the water. So there's maybe ½ inch. We're almost there. And
Got some fish packing.
okay, what are you showing on the camera? Because are you showing my finger or not? Okay, so let's hold that as our, right? So when the finger gets wet, I go when I turn off when the bottom of my finger gets wet, like it just did, I go over here to the laundry room.
One sec.
Okay, come here.
I'm working on it.
So I've turned off the water. The next thing you want to do is this bottom part that controls whether the water is going to the hose or out into the laundry tub. Turn it clockwise, that 30 degrees, and pull it down, and that will let water drain out through the python. So at that point, up here, Nate. Up here, Nate. Yes, up here, please. No. I don't need you up. I need you showing the video here. So hop down.
It's confusing now.
I was just trying to tell you what to aim at, right?
Oh.
So now we come over here. We take that off. Take that out. We put the lid on. And the water change is done with the exception of draining the water from the python and rolling it up. And so generally I keep pretty large loops as I roll up the python. This one's 50 feet long, and then I've been lying it against the bin over here on the floor. And that is it. I dumped out the dirty bucket of water in the laundry tub, and there really isn't anything else to put away. We put away the towels, the hoses, we put the stuff back under the tank stand, and with this one piece left to go, we're all done. So